Welcome everyone to 2026. Hope you had a really good New Year's. As for me and PackStat, I really wanted to kick off the new year with some new data. And that is the chart that you see before you. It is a chart that my husband really worked hard on making. It's pretty much our very own card analysis chart with our own personal unique flair to it. And before I explain what the chart reveals, I'm going to preface by saying that on this channel, we're going to cover Pokemon cards only. And for the most part, they're not going to include vintage cards. So most likely not really Gen 6 and older. Maybe once in a while we'll do that. And the reason why is because the vintage card market is very skewed. When we looked at the data, it's not exactly accurate. And there's just so much variation within those markets. Various conditions, for example, in those cards. You got damage to near mint. And then people paying all kinds of prices for damage, for lightly played, for moderately played, for near mint as well. What one person might pay for, lightly played is different from somebody else who's going to pay it for lightly played, because these are really old, hard to find cards, but that skews the data ultimately. Probably also what is a larger factor in not really covering vintage is that the market isn't as liquid as modern cards. And I'm talking about the pricier cards, the ones that people really care about if you're an investor. Well, for vintage, it's not as liquid as modern, and therefore the data isn't very accurate. The more liquid a market is, the more accurate your data is. That's just the simplest way to put it. And what we have here from Gen 7 to Gen 9, I am 99% sure that these numbers are reflective of how the market is moving right now. So we're on Gen 7 to Gen 9. That is what we are covering somewhat, not a lot. We're mostly just covering the top 20. And this video is going to be more of an introduction of what we're going to be doing and how this is going to work. So you will see more of this in the future. Let's start with timing. I will try to do this once a week because we are going to try to capture data once a week at least. The next thing is the chart. Right here on the left is our card name. This entire table does not go to 20. I have to scroll a bit, but all I did was take screenshots. But we will see what the top 20 is. The next thing is here. This is the generation. You'll see there's generation 9, 7, 8, 7. These are the generation of these cards on the left here. Then we have the set name, where these cards came from. So we have Sword Shield ones, we have Scarlet Violet ones, and we also have the Phantasmal Flames and Mega Evolution if any of those cards are up here. The next column we're going to cover is this one right here, which is probably the most important column, and this is price difference. And it's going to be the price difference between whatever was the latest data that we got and the data that we got from 4 weeks ago. So basically what we'll have on this end here, we will have 4 columns. We only have 3 in 1 week intervals. A lot of this was testing, but the intention is there will be 4 columns here, 1 week intervals of price data. And the price difference here is going to be the most recent price minus the price captured from 4 weeks before. So this price difference is going to show a 4-week price difference. However, in this column here, this is a 1 week change. We will also look at the price change from just a week before. So we can see if the velocity of this change happened recently, or it just happened kind of gradually, or maybe it happened mostly in the past. Now, hopefully that makes sense. Regardless, pretty sure you guys will catch on to how this is going to go, and I'll do my best to explain things better. So again, this side right here, these columns right here, these are going to show the prices at 1 week intervals of the top 20 cards or whatever cards we're going to talk about. Right now, we only have 3. And again, they are not 1 week intervals because we were testing things out. We started gathering our data on 12/24. The next time we tried it was 12/26, and then last time we tried it was 12/30. This was our most recent data. So that means the price difference here is the difference between this 12/24 price and our 12/30 price. So our price that was most in the past and the price that was most recent. And that is only 6 days. Our intention is to go week by week, so 7 days. But we did this so we can at least put something up and you guys can understand how we are arranging this data. and what we're going to do, what this chart is going to look like. And even though it was just 6 days of data, it actually turned up some really interesting things. And that is what we're going to talk about. Now down here is another chart, which we will go over. This is somewhat unique, I think. It is rank change. I don't know if you could see that. It says set rank change. And this is to see any changes in ranking for any individual card in its set. So not in its generation, but in its set. Was it the top card, number 1? Was it number 2, number 3, and so on and so forth? And that is based on their price. And ranking can show us how much a card moved in comparison to other cards within the same set. So you could think of it as kind of like a race to the top. But we're not going to cover that today because it is not that important right now and we need more data. Now, even though we only have data from 6 days, there's already something pretty interesting about it. There was one card that really dominated the market, and that is this one right here, Mega Charizard X Ex from the Phantasmal Flame set. It moved $91.50 within 6 days. At 12/24, it was about $394, and at 12/30, it is $485. Now, don't get hung up with precise numbers. We're not concerned about precise numbers. We're just concerned about trend. And for a card that is $400 to $500, a $91 change is very significant. And so that brings us to TCG Player because we can see some of the most recent sales pretty easily. Now, in general, of course, this chart here that they have shows that the price from the beginning of the set has drastically dropped. And that is fine. We are just looking at the purchase data right now, and there have been a lot of purchases. This is why our chart has recorded a $91 change within 6 days. There has been a massive buying spree within these 6 days. Just today, 12/31, there have been 8 purchases. And then at 12:30, there were like about 10 purchases here. And then at 12:29, there were 6 purchases about. Actually, there were more. There were some more purchases down here. And then at 12:28, there was a massive buying spree, the biggest in terms of the most recent sales. There are about 20 cards, actually about 23 cards that were purchased on 12/28 alone. And then there are more, 12/27 and 12/26. 12/25 also. Right on Christmas Day. So I'm pretty sure it's obvious to you guys that there's been a huge interest in this card. I don't know why. It might be because somebody thinks that this is going to be very valuable, as in more valuable in the future, near future, I don't know, distant future. Could be the act of one individual or several individuals. We really don't know, but Mega Charizard is definitely a card to watch. It's looking like at the very least, there is a lot of demand for it. So much so that somebody or multiple people decided to purchase it on New Year's Eve as well as on Christmas. A whole ton of them. All I know is it jumped in price $91. And that is not something to ignore. Now, second on this list for price movement or highest price movement is this Mewtwo Mew GX Secret Rare. It moved about $14 within 6 days from 336 ish to 350-ish, and maybe $14 seems like a lot, but in reality, for a card that is a few $100s worth, $14 is nothing, especially since it is an older card, Gen 7, so there's going to be a lot of variation when it comes to what is being sold. But the reason why I highlight this Mewtwo Mew Secret Rare is because in our top 20, there are multiple secret rares that actually showed up. Another one is this Charizard V Secret Rare. This is from the Sword and Shield Champions Path. Then a Lucario GX Secret Rare, a Snorlax Secret Rare. Then we have a Gengar Mimikyu Secret Rare. And then there are a couple more in another slide, which includes the Latias Latios GX Secret Rare. So for some reason, secret rares kind of, popped up. So let's look at these secret rares. First one being Mewtwo and Mew. This is a pretty nice card. And within the span of 3 months, it actually popped from $264-ish to about $340. And in terms of purchases, there is still interest in it, granted much more sporadic than Mega Charizard. There was one purchase today at 12/31 at $474, and the rest of the purchases, well, There was 1228 at $302, also near mint, so you could see why older cards, there is a huge variation in what is being sold and the price that it's sold at. In general, the trend has been going up. So this is definitely a card to watch. And I wish we had 3-month data, because the 3-month data would have shown that as well in terms of price difference, but we don't. We just started. Now, next thing to look at is the Snorlax Secret Rare, and there actually has been a lot of purchases of this card. Not to the degree that Mega Charizard has been sold, but still quite a bit for an old card. There was one purchase today at $104. There were 3 others at $12.29 and about 5 others at $12.27 and another at $12.21 and at $12.20, $12.16, $12.14, $12.13. So there has been generally consistent purchases of this card. I don't know if somebody is trying to corner the market here, especially since at $12.11 there were a lot of purchases. There's about 10 of them at $12.11 right here. I don't know why. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but there is still a lot of interest in this card. And in general, the 3-month chart looks really good. It did increase. 3 months ago it was $76, and on TCG Player's chart it is at $80. But if we look at the more recent sale prices, it is about $120, $100 to $120. The other secret rare was Lucario GX, but there isn't a whole ton of movement here. There really isn't a whole lot of purchases, so I would look at that data with a grain of salt. Xerneas also, there isn't a lot going on, even though price seems to have gone a little bit higher. It looks like things are pretty much holding where they are. Now, Tyranitar was another one in our chart. It was in our top 20. I'm going to a different chart here. Here it is. It is right here. Tyranitar GX. Secret rare. It only moved about $3, but nonetheless, it is a secret rare that showed up as top 20. And in the 3-month chart, it looks pretty good. So this may be another card to watch for the long term. Charizard VMAX was another secret rare that showed up. There was a downtrend in the 3-month, but it seems to be a little stagnant right now. And that VMAX secret rare showed up here with a very small price difference of 86 cents. So not sure what's going to happen with this card, except that it is part of the secret rare group. So it may be something worth looking into. Now the Umbreon secret rare, definitely something to look at. It's been going up in this 3-month chart. Yeah, most recent sale price was $12.31 at $119. Compare that to $12.12 where it was at $93. So it is actually going up. And within the 6 days, it had gone up $5.48. And $5.48 for a 90-ish to $100 card, at least that was what it was at around $12.24. That is not bad of a move. So I definitely think Umbreon GX is something to look at. The final one that we're going to look at here is Latios and Latios GX, and the 3-month looks pretty good, but the 1 year actually looks even better. A year ago it was pegged at around $94, and today it is about $180, and this is for near mint. That card can be found right here on our chart. Recent price movement is at around $3. It hasn't really moved that much, but you could see in the 1 year that it is trending upward. There's definitely an interest in certain secret rares. So that is pretty much it in terms of significant price movements and possible patterns and cards and potential hidden gold mines, so to speak. So that is all I'm going to talk about, guys. I think I rambled on for long enough. Hopefully that was a good introduction as to some of the stuff or some of the content that we're going to be doing. This is just going to be a once a week thing, but I would like your comments and suggestions on this to see whether or not this was helpful or not. But also if you have certain cards that you want to look at or a certain set you want to look at, you can write it down in the comments and I can see what data I can pull and put it into future videos as a viewer suggestion segment, I suppose. Right now the data is still pretty raw because we had just started collecting data. Again, week by week we're going to get more, and so we'll have a better and better picture of how the market is moving. Keep an eye out for that Mega Charizard and those secret rares. I'll see you in the next one.